Hey, this is Frank. You're listening to an Origins episode of the Unbecoming Platypus podcast. Do you ever feel like you have friends who sometimes just don't get each other? This is a podcast that I recorded with two of my friends, Jake and Noah. We find out the hard ways we struggle to communicate better and sometimes succeed, but sometimes not. For years, the three of us have talked about communication and how it's sometimes easier said than done. Even when we're trying to be understanding, our well-meaning intentions often get lost in translation. We decided to share these conversations with the world. Join us as we find out what happens when three friends try to learn how to really talk to each other.
So we're just now recording, and that means that all of that comedic genius that I just had back there is lost to the ages.
Yeah.
Man, this must be how our ancestors felt back when they weren't recording every single second of their lives.
Yes, it could have been how they felt.
Could have been. I guess that's true. I don't know how they felt.
Jake, do you have an audience, or is it just you?
It's just me that I know of, but I thought that was true last week, and I got just crazy applause. So,
Oh yeah, we can do that again if you want.
It's okay. It's all right. I mean, it did kind of hype me up, but I think I'm good. What do you guys think about how everything is recorded these days? I was thinking about this, I have a child, and it's kind of crazy because, when I was growing up, my mom would bring out like a photo album or something. We have... That's right. Give it up for my mom and her photo albums. Yeah, Mom. Woo! Yeah, I know. I'm biased, but...
Man, if you hit that
like
button twice in a row, we could get lots of podcasts out of that.
For sure. It's pretty long.
And she's got like 15 of these things, and they each weigh around 35 pounds, and you pull them out, and, they're falling apart and all this stuff. And you have these pictures, and, this was back in the day whenever you'd go and get your film developed at Kmart or what have you. And I can't tell you how many pictures my mom has that are just straight up blurry. And but we kept them. We got like 3 copies of them, in fact. And, that was obviously in the age when you were recording things, but I get reminded by Google quite often of these video recordings of my son, from he was 1 year old, and I've got like the sound of his voice at that time. And it just makes, I don't know, that I don't even know what I'm really confused by or interested in, but it's like, we didn't have that before. Like, humans didn't have this record of what a child was like. All they had was their memory. And a child couldn't have heard what they were like or how they spoke or anything. All they had was their memory. Like, how does this create a feedback loop for humans moving forward?
Can we get some applause?
Yeah.
That was more like a...
It was Tenny.
Well, it was more like a, like symposium talk or something.
Yeah, that one's called
Yeah.
clapping as opposed to cheering.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It kind of sounded like they clapped directly into like a motor oil can or something.
I do think it's interesting what you brought up, the difference between, having every moment recorded and having none. And it's interesting how much that's changed just in my lifetime, because when I was a kid, of course we had photos, and we had some video when I was a little older, but not a lot. I mean, I think we were late to the camcorder game, and those videos have been, they're in a box somewhere in my parents' garage. And when we find them someday, they're probably not going to be functioning anymore. So
after my dad died, I found a box with like 4 or 5 of them in there, and I don't have a camcorder to watch them. At some point, I'll probably figure out how to do that. But
yeah, so it's interesting. I think the sheer difference between that, like, oh, there's probably some videos that exist of me when I was a kid that maybe I'll be able to see someday.
Mm-hmm.
And kids who literally have grown up on video. And that's why I think we have this sort of creator culture now where everybody's doing something on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. And I was thinking about how comfortable everybody seems in front of the camera on these social media platforms. I'm just like, I would not record myself doing these mundane things, and they seem so comfortable doing it. You know what I mean? And on the other hand, I am thinking about possibly recording myself along with Amy at some point in the future. And that's like crazy and a little bit scary and a little bit ridiculous and a little bit, I don't know. It's weird because it's not my culture.
It's interesting because, like, you know, I guess at this point, 20 years ago, geez, you know, back in the 2004, 2006 era, I remember getting online and finding like stupidvideos.com or, you know, College Humor had these things. And like at first it was, oh, here's this funny commercial from Europe that you've never seen before because you don't live in Europe. And, you know, some of them were uploaded at the most ridiculous bit rate. They just looked absolutely terrible. And then it started getting more creative. And it wasn't just like a place where you could put already created content, but it was like, I remember watching these compilations of like Farting Preacher, and then you had like College Humor doing skits. And this was, you know, actually that thing. And I don't think we knew what we were into whenever YouTube came around and actually democratized and made accessible this ability to like put yourself out there. And it all happened at once, right? There was technology like the iPhone, and there was YouTube and this ability to actually take the content you're making that you can make at any point in your day and put it out there. And now it is just integrated in our lives completely. That's a different way of existing. It makes me wonder, like, at least for me, if I'm creating something, I may be living my life differently because, like you said in a joke a minute ago, the audience, right? What I do for an audience is more this sort of persona, and what I do for me is without that. So in what ways do I change the way that I express because there might be someone who sees it?
Yeah. I listened to most of Colin and Samir podcast the other day with YouTube's culture and trends person. I think that's what it's called. I sent Frank, I sent you the link to their report the other day, but it was a really interesting conversation because, well, for lots of reasons, but Colin and Samir were talking about sort of that thing, which is the audience. And this is something that, you know, actors and celebrities have dealt with for their entire existence. But now there are normal people who have a persona online and they have fans, and they still are, there is a persona. There is some difference. Even vloggers who are trying to show you their real life, there is still something hidden from the public. And when they meet these people in real life, they think they know, they think they know them. You know, Frank, you said you listened to the podcast. I think it was also Colin Samir with oh my goodness,
Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, with Tim Ferriss, and he was talking about this thing too. He was talking about meeting people and they feel like they know you, and he will say, you know, on some level, you do know me. You know me better than my friends do because I put myself out there constantly for you.
Yeah. I don't have, like, no one has friends who spend like 7 hours a week just dedicated to listening to them.
Right.
Except the people who follow you on YouTube might do that. So,
yeah, I mean, and if you have a long form podcast where you're having conversations for 2 or 3 hours, people listen to that, and they're listening to you 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week. And if they binge, maybe more, yeah, so there's this really weird sort of in between where, yeah, they spend more time with you than maybe friends and family do, but they also don't know you as personally. It's very strange. And it's going to continue like that, I think.
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, I think that the thing we've been talking about with like the authenticity and consistency continuum, like there will likely be less of that vulnerability. I'm not just going to tell you about my worst fears and the traumas in my life and the hard thing that happened to me last night and how I dealt with it on a podcast necessarily.
What happened last night?
Unless that's your niche. But to some extent, there is.
Must have been bad.
Yeah, no.
But to some extent, there is a point at which this is who you are. Like, you are kind of what you do every day, right? And so if what I am is the person who puts words to the thoughts in my head, or the person who communicates ideas that have been shared with me, or I'm interviewing people, like that is to a great degree who I am. That's where I put my energy. And, I mentioned this movie, and it's a kid's movie called Mitchells versus the Machines before. And it's really this interesting juxtaposition between a father and his daughter. And the father lives in this tactile world, and he drives a stick shift and wants to go camping and fishing and all this stuff. And his daughter makes these videos through her camera. And he picks up the camera at some point, and he looks through it, and he says, look, you can't even see the world through this lens. It's right out in there in front of you, but all you see is this lens. And she's like, Dad, those are my eyes. This is the way I see the world. And, we could put it on some sort of a moral scale, like it's good or it's bad to offload my consciousness into the cloud. But ultimately, it's what we're doing. So it is to a great degree part of our identity.
Yeah. And I like the connection that you made about, what are the things you do every day. I was thinking about this just from a sort of habit standpoint. Like, what are the things that I do every day without fail? And what are the things that I want to start doing every day without fail? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just trying to think, like, how do I get to where I want to be? And how do habits get me there, sort of? And things that I do, like I study Spanish every day. I work out every day unless it's a rest day. I mean, even things like diet, like I eat a certain way. I eat certain things each day because I'm trying to get to a certain point with my body, right? And so what are the things that I need to do every day to get to where I want to be? From the standpoint of, am I going to share those things, or if I'm going to share my life on video at some point, what things do I want to let people see? What things am I going to be embarrassed about? You know what I mean? What things am I going to be embarrassed about that I shouldn't be embarrassed about? It's a really interesting, when you think about opening your life to the public, it's an interesting sort of thought process. Even just podcasting recently with you guys is different. I don't think a lot about it, mostly because I don't think we have a lot of listeners. But if
They're increasing.
I know, but if we ever did, thinking about early conversations, and do I need to be embarrassed about those? But I don't think so. I think it's just, we're learning. We're trying to get better at this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but this is just what's on my mind.
Yeah, this all feels a little too, it feels like the wrong kind of questions to me. And I don't mean for you guys. I mean for me. Like, life is short and it's going to be over soon. And like, I don't know what there is to be embarrassed about. Like, ultimately we are just whoever we are, and in X number of years we'll be gone. So no one will remember us anyways. And literally what you put on social media will not be remembered in it's 2 days or something. It's gone. And that's going to get shorter and shorter as there's more content produced. So.
Right. But I think the embarrassment question is more along the lines of that sort of line we were drawing earlier between like what my childhood was like and what life is like now, as far as like putting yourself out there. It's a comfortability. Maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I like when I talk to social media clients about this who really want to do video posts but can't get themselves to. It's about just being comfortable with them.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by embarrassment, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should be embarrassed.
The most direct path I know through that is just what I said, though. It really is related. Yeah, you just like it's going to be gone in 2 days. Like no, like even if it sucks and like people give it bad comments, that is over quickly, and you will learn from it. So just do it.
Sure.
Yeah, well, and I think that there's something that's happening culturally as well. I mean, part of putting yourself out there is being willing to be a forerunner in some ways. And it's kind of like you said, Frank, like just because we have been doing something doesn't mean, or just because we have, historically been embarrassed by a certain thing doesn't mean that we should be embarrassed by that thing. So what happens, I look at it in terms of like, in the world of mental health, so many people are becoming more comfortable saying, yeah, I was diagnosed with bipolar. Yeah, I've got borderline personality disorder. And, that used to be so stigmatic, but because people have been willing to say something like that, or even something like Me Too, it empowers and makes other people feel comfortable doing it. Like we, the three of us, 10 years ago, saying, let's sit down in front of a camera or a microphone and talk and actually put our ideas out there. Hell no. Not going to happen.
I have a video of me and you at Dairy Queen in like 2010, Jake.
Yeah.
Where I said, "What are we going to call the podcast?"
Yeah.
And I don't remember what we just joked for like 40 seconds, and then
we say the unbecoming?
Was it with the unbecoming
platypus? Yeah, it was. No, I don't think so.
That'd be crazy.
I think it was JakeSeabach.com or something. That's
nice.
Pandora's something or other.
Yeah, probably.
Pandora's Confession.
Yeah, that's right.
How does that make you feel?
Pandora's Confession?
Yeah.
I like it. I put a lot of thought into that.
Tell us about that.
So, the story of Pandora is that there was this box. It was a temptation. She could either open it or not, but the name Pandora actually means all gifts. She was this like incredibly gifted thing that was imbued with beauty and health and vitality and poetry and all this. But there was this potential thing. It was like this niggling little idea in her mind, what could be in that box. And by opening it, she unleashed that pathway toward always asking what's next. That for me, I mean, it honestly is a story of my life. I have almost never been content to just say, yeah, this is it. I've always asked the question why, and it always leads to the next question why. Yeah, in a way, it was sort of a story picture for whatever unfolded on that blog. And I mean, in all mythology, there's something like that. Eve eating the apple is the exact same thing, but from a Hebrew perspective. It's we've got everything. We're in the garden. It's all good, but there's some sort of temptation, and what happens when you do it?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I think that to go back to that, there's always like these forerunners, and we wouldn't have thought of actually doing this. Like we wouldn't have truly been comfortable and had any sort of like framework for what this product we were creating was as if we do now. But it's so commonplace to just be like, yeah, people make podcasts, that something inside us goes, yeah, we can put our voices out there too. And that's happening in lots of spheres and spaces all over the place.
I've felt like I could make one for a very long time, but definitely something shifted belief-wise about like willingness to share ideas.
We've talked about it for a long time. I mean, you just said you and Jake had a conversation in 2010 on video about it.
Yeah.
But we as a group have talked about doing something like this.
Yeah, we recorded one in Puerto Rico as well.
I told that story to Zach and Mary the other night in the car. It was like
nice.
The podcast specifically, or just thinking you're going to die?
The story of getting on that boat and everything that led up to it, and Yeah, it was very interesting. And so like I didn't even mention the idea that I thought we might die. But and I said, and then they said, just go ahead and sit on the boat and we'll be out there in a little bit. And Mary went, "Oh my God, were you just sitting there like thinking these people are going to harvest my organs and sell them on the black market?" I was like, "Yeah, I absolutely was." There's actually a recording all about this. It's the first
Jake-
episode of our podcast.
I'm not going to say that not all of us thought we were going to die, but Jake definitely thought the most that we were going to die.
I just
He was-
entertained the idea.
He was very nervous, I think, at one point.
No, I wasn't nervous. I was like, out of all the experiences in my life, this is the most likely to result in organ harvesting. So let's just go ahead and make peace and enjoy this moment. Could be my last.
Yeah, I thought
have
it was
two
a great
kidneys.
environment for recording.
I just wish we knew the guy's name. We'll never know. We'll never know his name.
No.
But you know what?
Yeah,
He
he
knows
couldn't
my
give us
name.
his name because Jake was giving him his entire life history in hopes of connection so that he wouldn't die.
I said, "My name is Jake. My name is Jake. My name is Jake. I have a child.
I have a family
My child's
at home.
name. Yes. I
My
have a
wife
name.
needs me to come home.
I have a family."
I mean, he said his name to us 3 times
Yeah.
at our request. And every time it was...
Yeah.
He was smiling when he said it, though. It was like, they're not going to get it.
I mean, it wasn't a normal name.
Whoa, hold on a second. It might be normal there.
No,
Yeah?
it wasn't a normal name.
I don't even remember it.
The other guy's name was normal. His name was Juan.
Yeah.
But the boat driver?
I think he was a captain. I'm pretty sure they call boat drivers captains.
Boat driver.
And
It's like
ambulance drivers
driver.
are.
If he was a captain, he was also a boat driver.
That's right. I could make a Venn diagram out of this.
Go ahead.
I did. It's in my mind.
We need to play Venn sometime.
We do. That'd be good. We were supposed to do one fun thing a week, and so far it's been 3 weeks, and I haven't done one damn fun thing in my life.
Well, not purposely fun.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean-
We're talking about having fun on purpose.
Right.
I've been doing them.
You've been going out and
Tell
having
us about it.
fun.
What have you done?
I've been swimming. I played some basketball. I've been trying to just do one fun thing a week. I got to say, basketball on balance wasn't fun. It was fun during it, but the sort of joint pain afterwards, I wouldn't say is worth it at this size. But
You going to the Y, or what are you doing?
yeah, I mean, the Y for the pool for sure. I also have done the float tank recently. But I just played behind the school basketball. I mean, there's some courts behind it.
Nice.
You've been doing float?
Yeah, the isolation tank sensory deprivation thing.
How often are you doing that? What's that experience like?
I mean, I do it as often as I feel like it fits. It is a time commitment. And if I'm going to do it, I prefer to do 90 minutes. So it's literally 90 minutes of just you and your mind. I mean, there's like no input available. So that's pretty cool. Definitely helps you. I don't know. I find myself like relaxed and almost euphoric after it, but I look forward to it for sure. The time without there's like no chance of notifications. Like they're not.
I'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah, I'd
You
like to
should.
try it sometime.
You should. It's good. We should do the fun thing though.
What's the fun thing?
I don't know. What was your idea? What were you thinking?
I have no
He
idea.
said paintball.
My
You did say
idea.
paintball.
My idea was that we should do a fun thing.
I know. And then you asked me earlier today if I wanted to go to Texas Roadhouse today. I'm just like, what happened to
Well,
the fun thing?
I have a gift card. I have a gift card, and I could get a free steak.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want a free steak. That seems fun.
I agree. Can you get us all free steaks?
Yeah.
No.
No. I think
mean,
this
if
should
you-
be a mutually fun thing.
If you purchase a $50 gift card for someone, if they're still running the promo, you could get a free steak.
I think it's actually just subsidized by the total cost.
No, it's free, man.
I don't think that they offer a $10 steak.
Sure they do.
No.
I mean, 10 plus 2 or something.
I mean,
So it's
back in
not
the
a free
day,
steak.
you could go on Wednesday nights and get a 10-ounce ribeye for $10.
Yeah, but it's not the day anymore.
All right.
Not
Mostly
today.
free steak.
It's not back in the day anymore.
It's not Wednesday either.
Yeah. All right. So you're going to get a highly subsidized steak.
I'm going to get a mostly free steak.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Or
Wait,
maybe
Wait, are
maybe
you
the
telling
steak
me?
is free, but I'm paying for the sides or something like that.
Are you telling me that you bought the gift card?
I bought a gift card for my dad for Father's Day, and they sent me $10.
How do you feel about having bought a gift card?
At Texas Roadhouse for parents? That's what you do.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah, but Noah is actually opposed at his core to gift cards as a concept.
I don't know if it's that extreme, but I don't really like them in general.
You said you don't know. That doesn't mean that it's not true.
I said I don't know that it's that extreme.
Right, but you
I
don't
do
know that it's
enjoy
not
this
that extreme.
conversation. I think it's funny.
I think it's funny when you call out what you think is funny about what you're doing currently.
Yeah, it's
I
part
know,
of the
especially
culture.
if you do it in the most monotone voice possible so it doesn't seem like you think it's funny when you're saying that you think it's funny.
I'm not very excitable, man.
Is excitability one of the traits? of
I
the Big
wouldn't s-
Five?
I wouldn't say that about yourself, but you can.
That I'm not excitable?
Yeah.
I'm not generally that excitable.
I know, but it just puts a boundary there. Subconscious or whatever.
Oh man.
You want to talk about subconscious boundaries?
Actually, I've been thinking about this a lot.
I know.
Do you?
Yes. Yeah, it's in the category in the Venn diagram called the things Jake continuously always thinks about a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The questions with no answers. That's what I call them.
Yeah, so what are your recent insights into that?
I was thinking about this in terms of employment or career aspirations. So, like when I was younger, my dad, when I was born, he was a custodian. And shortly after, a couple of years later, he became a manager at a grocery store. And eventually, he became an operator at like an industrial manufacturing plant. And when I talked to my dad, growing up, and I was a kid, so I've probably messed this up somewhere along the lines, but it seemed to me that his goal was simply to make more money than he made before. And to me, that's a pretty terrible metric. It is, if I, go and try to get a new job, if it's better than the last thing I had, it qualifies as success against that one criterion. And so, growing up, the height of aspiration was sort of what was modeled for me by my immediate group, by my father, who's, it was work at this industrial plant. And I never really thought beyond that. Doctors and lawyers and stuff, that was for anyone else. And so I just think about the ways that our subconscious boundaries are created to some extent by what is modeled by the people around us. And that could be anything. I mean, if I've got a parent who's a lawyer and a parent who's a doctor or someone who's, in an academic position or whatever, like you might think, oh, those are prestigious positions. And so I think I can aspire to that and then go and do it. But at the same time, those people are, working 70 hours a week for what, more money than I make at an industrial packaging plant? Sure, but like, what's the quality of life? And it doesn't matter. It's not better or worse. It's just that that bubble of what's possible or what you should do is really created there. You know, this day and age, honestly, the people who are probably the happiest are the ones who are finding side hustles that allow them to work fewer hours, travel, go to the places they want to, spend more time with their families, and so on and so forth. You know, but that wasn't modeled for a lot of people up until this point in time. So yeah, again, I mean, it kind of just all folds back into that idea of like, you know, somebody has to be the forerunner. Somebody has to make this somehow normal. And then that normal becomes achievable. So that's how I've been thinking about it, subconscious boundaries.
I was going to say something, but then Frank really looked like he was going to say something. And then he just
Really?
kept not saying something.
Say something.
I'm giving up on. How's it go? Isn't that same song?
Say something.
Say something.
Giving up on-
Oh no, that I was doing a different one. Yeah.
Let's all do different ones.
It's, I think we already are. Oh, you mean a song? Okay.
How have you been thinking about subconscious boundaries, Frank?
Oh, I just think they exist, and when you notice them, you should exsanguate them.
Oh, so this is the whole, you know, the beliefs that we actually believe we never question thing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I just think like I've seen people enough times be like, you know, whatever, they say something about themselves and they don't even notice that they keep saying it about themselves, and they're creating this subconscious definition of themselves, and it's like, I'm not good at sales, or I'm not good at, I could never be a software developer, or whatever thing people say about themselves. Like, yes, you can.
Yeah.
But not with that, you know.
You're
sort of
talking
approach.
about belief arrays.
Oh, arrays.
I think he is talking about belief packages.
Belief bundles, maybe.
Belief
parcels.
Belief bunches.
bales. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people have them, and often they are not looked at because it's like, you know, you might be at your first job and you're like, I don't know, you're an inventory guy or something, whatever. Your job does not involve sales, and you go out on the sales floor and like they're busy, so you help a customer, and then they got, you know, you're like very impressionable age, 17 or something. And the guy's like, hey, you're not in sales. Just don't talk to customers when you're out here. And you're like, oh, I'm not good at sales for the rest of your life. And like, people should look at why they think this about themselves. Is it because some guy you don't know doesn't care about you did that to you? I don't know. That didn't happen to me, but I think it's happened to a lot of people.
Noah, are you in outer space right now?
Why do you think?
It seems to be getting worse, whatever's happening in your life.
That is light coming through my blinds at the exact correct angle for this. Because you can see if I move my laptop, it goes away. That's pretty cool, though.
It is cool. I like it.
My favorite is us talking about things that our listeners can't see.
Yeah.
We do that way more than we intend to.
Yeah. Well, we could describe what we see. Go ahead, Jake.
Speak for yourself. I love mentioning things that people can't see. That cracks me up.
Go ahead and tell everyone what we see.
It's sort of a light refraction that looks like outer space, and Noah's floating in it.
Yeah, it looks like the Milky Way galaxy is in Noah's house.
Why do you think the Milky Way galaxy? Why not the Andromeda?
I don't know. It's just the most commonly viewed one by me.
I agree. I think it is the most relatable galaxy. Yeah, I think definitions, man. Definitions are weird because they are one of the most useful tools that we could possibly have. Like, they allow us to and like functionality. That's what I'm talking about here. They allow us to take an idea and say, here are the boundaries of the idea. I'm going to like plop it out in a little ball, in the form of some words, and I'm going to shoot it over at your ears, and you're going to put that little ball in your head. And now we're sharing a definition. It's how cooperation happens, right? This is a very functional, adaptive thing, but at the same time, it's all fake. Like, I love how Richard Rohr, he says that the dualistic mind doesn't actually see anything. The dualistic mind chooses what something is. And, another word for that would be like egoic. Like, if there is no separation, if I am in this egoless space, everything just is whatever it is. And there's no distinction. There's no binary here. But the second that I start to exert my control and my categories and boxes on the world, I basically draw distinctions. Where does something begin? Where does something end? I make myself the chooser of that. And honestly, like, again, very functional, very adaptive in so many ways. It's how we have society. At the same time, I rob so much from myself because I limit possibility every time that I do it. And when we do that to ourselves and who we can be and what we can aspire to be, that one hurts.
Yeah, I think so. I think especially if we don't know that it's a thing.
Yeah.
Because it is also adaptive and good, to define yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like creating some identity or something that, especially in my opinion, if it's self-driven, like it's not a tribal identity. It doesn't come with all these ideas you didn't pick.
Yeah.
But if you kind of pick your ideas, this is where I'm headed. That seems good, but just having a whole bunch informing who you are that you don't even really know are there or how they got there or why, that seems like something you can improve. Anyone can improve, I mean.
So Noah, do you think that you might enjoy being an excitable person? Does that idea excite you?
I don't think that
I don't think it's wrong to be
my-
excitable, by the way.
No, that's
Or
true.
unexcitable.
I don't think I stop myself from being excitable. I just don't think that I am typically that excitable. It's not my demeanor, which I don't think is a good or bad thing.
Unless you're walking through Walgreens in Puerto Rico. I have seen you become incredibly excited. Jake! Did you see that? I need to hold on to this for a second. I'm falling. I can't stand up.
You were also excitable.
I'm always excitable, man.
Frank had no idea what was happening. Frank was like, what was going on in there?
For sure. It depends on the Walgreens, but more often you guys are having the experience that you were having in Walgreens than me. But I saw some Walgreens experiences that I liked.
I've been in a lot of Walgreens in my life, and I'll tell you something, not all of them have publicly accessible restrooms. They do all have very tiny walk-in freezers that are so cold. They are the coldest freezer you will find anywhere.
Mm.
They are really...
It's just a general review of Walgreens characteristics or something.
I really prefer not to give it context and just kind of leave it. I'll tell you something about Walgreens freezers.
Yeah.
They really are cold. And Walgreens has not, they put up a new store every week. It seems like they put up a new store, and they have not learned to help their employees out by making that freezer just a little bit wider.
Yeah. I've broken more than one shirt in a Walgreens freezer. Just shattered it because I had a little bit of sweat on my shirt, walked into a Walgreens freezer, and then it became
They become
glass.
very stiff.
Nice.
Neither Jake nor myself have worked at Walgreens.
Have you broken a shirt before?
Wait. not worked for Walgreens. We have worked at Walgreens.
That's correct. Yep.
That's great.
Have you
I've
worked at Walgreens?
100%.
Yeah. I figured. In the freezer?
I don't think I've ever worked in a Walgreens freezer. I've worked in freezers, though.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
People call the paramedics literally to anywhere.
Come to this freezer on the 9th.
Sometimes people get their hand caught in something in a freezer that doesn't let go.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place you've ever worked?
I mean, I liked working on boats. It's pretty fun.
Like in life or death situations, or?
What is the question?
I really don't know.
Okay. Then yes and no.
Cool.
Thank you.
I think that's cool too.
Yeah. No, I don't. Going back to the excitable thing, I just don't easily outwardly show excitability. We had this conversation multiple times about like me at a concert. I love music. I love concerts. But I'm most of the time not going to look like I'm having a good time. But that has everything to do with how I'm processing that experience internally, not how I'm showing it externally.
So but you've mentioned, being around Amy and the way that she experiences the world, like kind of inspires you in different ways. Does that play into like the excitability? Do you find yourself interacting with your environment differently?
I wouldn't say how I show it externally has changed, no. But what I like about Amy and what she brings as far as sort of that experiential sort of enjoyment is just the willingness to enjoy. That has more to do with my general attitude towards like getting something done, task orientedness, as opposed to let me just enjoy this experience. So that I think definitely changes, especially when I'm with her, but I don't know that it's always externally present.
I don't think you need to become more excitable. I think you're just fine the way you are.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I guess I appreciate that. Sometimes it'd be nice if my friends expected more of me, but it's okay. I'll continue to be.
I feel like an absence of any expectation on you about this is the most value I can provide. So that's why I'm silent here.
I'm trying to raise the bar for you, man. In fitness, you have 1.5 weeks left.
Yeah.
What happens in 1.5 weeks?
He's got to be fit by then.
How's that going?
I think well.
Are you fit?
I mean, I'm probably fitter than the average person, I would say. But I don't know that. I think that's been true for a while, probably.
Yeah.
As far as like overall fitness.
Is there a real goal here to be fit in a week and a half?
No, I have upped the intensity and cleaned up the diet. And I told Jake like a week and a half ago that in 4 to 6 weeks.
It was on a Sunday, by the way. That's why the half week is so funny. Because it is currently Sunday.
I said 4 to 6 weeks, I'm going to be in a different form. And every time Jake brings it up, he's cut off like 6 weeks of it. So
Nice.
You got to be fit next week.
Yeah.
You said you'd be fit next week. No?
Well, the thing about being the thing about being fit in 6 weeks is that it's better to be fit in 4 and then just keep it going. That way you got a buffer.
Maintain fitness?
Yeah.
For the last 4?
Yeah. So, no, I think it's going well. I'm definitely fitter than I was a week and a half ago.
Yeah, I think it's the running. I think running is helping.
Do you think there's anything wrong with being excitable, Noah?
No. No, I don't. It's just not my personality to be externally excitable. Never has been, really. Would you say you're externally excitable?
I wouldn't really have a comment on this. I don't think it's a good place to put energy.
Okay. Let's move on then.
No, why do you ask? What would you say?
No, I don't think you're excitable, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I guess I don't understand why you're still talking about it if it's not a good place to put energy.
Oh, but putting energy and stopping putting energy in there is a good place to put energy. I just think it's an area people spend a lot of time thinking about, like, who am I, whatever, what am I not? I can't do this because of that. And for me, it's been very freeing to stop putting energy into those things personally. Like, it doesn't matter. I can be anything I want to be. I don't mean like there's something wrong with it. It's just there are better places to apply energy than self-definition, I think. Because we're processes and we change over time. And I'm completely different than I used to be. So, like, why would I spend time trying to define who I am today?
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah. So I could become very, very externally excitable next week.
Sure, so could I. Probably not going to happen, but...
Yeah, it depends if my lacrosse knitting takes off or not.
I'd really like you to try that.
Yeah, I think it would be a unique physical challenge. Like, there are two, you know that game at Up, Down, Sideways, whatever the place is called?
I mean, there's lots of games there.
The one you hate.
Oh, the one with the, like, mosquitoes with guns?
Yeah, you're playing 3 games at once, and you can win either way. So you have 2 teams in lacrosse, and you can play like traditional lacrosse. That's one way to win. Or if everyone gets all their sweaters knitted on your team, you're like knitting while you play lacrosse at each other. You can win either way. Or you can win in aggregate. Like, we had more sweaters and we had more goals.
Are sweaters worth the same number as goals?
I don't know.
Same value? Like three sweaters plus 3 goals equals 3 score?
That seems like it would equal
score?
9 to me. You get 2 points for sweaters. Those take
the
way
sweaters
longer.
Okay, that was my question. Yeah. Okay.
Does anyone know how lacrosse is scored?
No, I don't even know anything.
I don't think it's necessary for this thought experiment. Yeah, no, that makes sense because
I'm pretty sure it already has sweater scores.
2 sweaters plus 1 goal
sweater points
is worth more than 4 goals. Honestly,
I'm Googling it.
What is the question?
I want to know, like, is it more likely for knitters to become lacrosse knitters, or is it more likely for lacrosse players to become lacrosse knitters? Like, what's your background? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably lacrosse players who want to.
And I think what I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter. You could be a Walgreens employee and you can become a lacrosse knitter, but not if you define yourself as only a Walgreens employee.
Yeah, I think it would not be great if you defined yourself as a Walgreens
It's
employee.
all broken shirts for me, This can't be your life.
I have nothing against Walgreens, but they certainly are not our sponsor.
I looked up lacrosse scoring. It's really disappointing. They just try to score goals.
It's soccer in the water.
What?
Jake
thinks lacrosse happens in water?
Do you think
water soccer?
I just became excitable.
See? That's what I'm saying.
Do you remember on that episode of Limitless with Chris Hemsworth where they played underwater hockey or something. What in the world is that? And why did someone think it was necessary?
Hold on. Let's back up 1 second. Do you think lacrosse is played in water?
You're listening to an Origins episode of the Unbecoming Platypus podcast. In these episodes, we're learning. We don't know what we're doing yet, and sometimes it shows. We think there's beauty in being a beginner, and we're learning from them, so we publish them. So thanks for listening, and rest assured that there will be better Unbecoming Platypus podcasts ahead.
Yeah, I was surprised that my favorite pizza toppings are actually fig jelly, capicola, and prosciutto with gorgonzola cheese. Did not expect that at all, but then I had that and it was like, wow, just like fire.
Yeah.
I'm simple when it comes to pizza. I like sausage and onion.
Yeah, I knew you like sausage. How about you, Frank?
I have been simple when it comes to pizza. It's mostly just the meats, you know?
Is that your attempt to not put yourself in a box? Because maybe next week you could become...
I might be into fig jam. I don't know. I've never tried fig jam pizza.
Yeah.
That's a podcast episode. Frank tries fig jam pizza. Frank reacts.
Frank.
I really like the idea of a silent podcast. I think it's hilarious. I think
you can do that and we don't even have to be
We don't
there.
have to do anything, literally.
I know, but we still have to post it each week. A
No,
recording of nothing.
I will automate that.
Let's do it, please.
Right?
It's fine. Yep.
No one's going to listen to it.
The Unbecoming Platypus, the sequel.
Yeah, the silent platypus.
Oh, that's what you get when you use adjectives in your podcast name. You can
Yeah, you
change
can have
that.
as many podcasts as you want.
Yeah.
Well, as many as there are adjectives. Although you can combine adjectives.
Absolutely.
It's really unlimited.
The becoming silent platypus.
We could even throw some adverbial phrases in there. Like, we could be like the silent horsemongering platypus.
Horsemongering?
Horse.
I don't even know what that means.
Well,
I don't either.
let's break it
I
down.
know what mongering is, but I don't think you can monger a horse, really.
We have the internet, guys.
All right,
I know.
Googling.
Horse.
I mean, I guess a horsemonger is just one who trades in horses.
That's what it was archaically. But yeah, I guess you can. I don't know. You can do it.
There is a
Can I?
WTTN News article that says, "Ask Jeffrey what was a manure monger."
That's great.
Listen, all I'm trying to get across here is that there is the opportunity for a silent platypus to trade in horses. Okay? And we could have a we could have a platycast about that.
A platycast.
That's right.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
To our
And-
first remote episode of
Oh, yeah. I should say this podcast we are doing a little differently. It's remote, and so if the audio sounds off, that's why. And if it sounds really off, we won't do this again. But thanks for listening either way.
This podcast was not brought to you by Walgreens.
Or anyone else, just us.
Hey, it's Frank again. Thanks for listening to an Origins episode of the Unbecoming Platypus podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast to stay updated on future episodes. You can also check us out online at theunbecomingplatypus.com. We hope these conversations inspire you to improve your communication skills and deepen your connections with your own friends and loved ones. Until next time, this has been the Unbecoming Platypus podcast.